Hey everyone. Welcome back to Don't Stop Storytelling. This week's storytelling episode is about love. It's like my favorite topic of all time. I think I'm a hopeless romantic, but also based on my spiritual beliefs, I also believe that in psychological beliefs, I believe that the biggest problem in the world is love, right? And so, how love shows up or doesn't show up is one of the greatest human trials and problems. Um, and challenges, period, right? So I can never get enough of love stories, not just like traditional love stories between love interests, but also father and son, bromances, um, love of country, like all these different things, right? However it shows up. And what we struggle with because we love is one of the most powerful stories because everyone can identify with it. I would safely say that almost everyone can identify with some sort of love lost, gained, the betrayal of some sort, and all the different things that go with that, right? And love itself is also like a whole theme in itself, and how like this coming of age movies, and there would seem to be a lot of them years ago that really dealt with teenagers recognizing themselves and figuring out how to navigate life and who they are and getting their heart broke and all these things. And so it's layers of love. And oftentimes when you're looking at a screenplay, there's a B, C, and D storyline, and love is usually like at least, if it's not the A storyline, it's the B or the C, right? Because it's so important. And how that shows up as filmmakers, that it's one of the cheapest ways of most inexpensive, I shouldn't say cheapest, the most inexpensive ways of telling a good story. It's almost like horror movies and love stories, right? Because you can have two people, when we were in film school, we get two people sitting on a bench and they're breaking up, right? You know, you look at older films, and I won't name any of them in particular today, but just like you look at things like Waiters and Waitresses, even action films with, people moving on speeding buses, and even in horror movies, like when the love interest, or alien movies, and the love interest dies first, right? There's all these different scenarios, and different types of love, and learning how to love and how to forgive and what it means to, even these epic war sagas, and they learn what it means to love their brothers, to be torn apart or have love for their country or miss their wives or their families and know they're not going home. Like the turmoil, there's so many opportunities to tell stories around that. And I think that's one of the basic, beyond the mundane, is that's, love can be an inspiration. It can be a tearjerker. And it can be something that unifies people when they understand that all people love, regardless of faith or belief. In international films, I really like how they tend to take love stories more slowly and more intimately. They seem to take their time versus like the Western paradigm of the basic story structure. The first 10 minutes, you have to know what the film is about, and also just like even the love of pets. Some of the greatest movies have been like the love between a man and his dog, or a woman and their dog, or their family and their dog, or kids, and even for me, exploring how people love and believe in themselves is also a theme. I mean, I've had how many different scripts and shorts and stuff like that feature love as an idea, but how we love people. So whether it's a civil rights film and you're talking about people that won't speak up, or you're talking about loving your neighbor as yourself if it's a faith-based film, or you're talking about the love of God, or having love for humanity, love of nature in a documentary, love of the community and the world. There's so many opportunities when you look at it to frame love and to weave it through stories, and to connect passionately with people, right? And there's even films about how people have loved or fallen in love through having sex, and through certain types of intimacy, and they didn't think that they were going to be vulnerable, and they learned a life lesson in that capacity. So love is such a driver. And when they talk about crimes of passion, right, there's a thriller or suspense, murder, suspense, thriller, betrayal. It's like love drives, and heartbreak it's almost his twin, drives many amazing stories, Oscar-winning films. Love of freedom and what that means in terms of time periods, even coming out of slavery or coming out of the Holocaust. or other periods coming out of internment camps and coming out of different types of wars. Love can be framed and painted and revealed or shielded and disguised so many ways. When you look at even some of these larger superhero stories, the love of humanity and those ideals and how they show up, how whether Superman or the Avengers and how they love the world and mimics like biblical or faith-based ideas about self-sacrifice, right? There's so many different things. So if you are ever bored and you're not into horror films and you don't have an idea around the mundane, I would start with love, because I don't think we have enough stories talking about love and the need for love and what authentic love actually looks like, what it means to want or long or miss people, especially in a culture of immediacy and urgency. What that looks like, what it looks like to wait, what it looks like to sacrifice, what it looks like to set yourself aside, or to decide that you'd rather not, you'd rather not have the artificial, but the authentic. That I think that those kind of love stories can resonate even more powerfully, or showing people different ways of loving, or in time periods when it wasn't acceptable to love someone of another race or another gender or another, from another country, or to even have camaraderie around within the military around people that were considered lesser for whatever reason. Love is present there. And there's so many different ways. You can invent yourself. You can paint beautiful portraits of what love can be and what it can look like and what a return to love or what complex love or what true love means to you. And that is a phenomenal way to tell a story. So get started. That's it. Take care. Don't stop storytelling.